call to service. We are servants of the Most High Elohim. Just like Emmanuel came to serve, we are also called serve one another with love. For love is the fulfillment of the law. Philippians 2 verse 6 to 8. Though he was Elohim, he did not think of equality with Elohim as something to cling to. Instead, he gave up his divine privileges. He took the humble position of a slave and was born as a human being. When he appeared in human form, he humbled himself in obedience to Elohim and died a criminal's death on a cross. Mark 10 verse 45. For even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. This is also Elohim's will for all of us who believe and follow him. Mark 10 verse 42 to 44. So Emmanuel called them together and said, "You know that the rulers in this world master it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. But among you it will be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must be the slave of everyone else." He drove this point across to them by how he lived among them. Emmanuel washes the disciples' feet. John 13 verse 6 to 18. When Emmanuel came to Simon Peter, Peter said to him, "Master, are you going to wash my feet?" Emmanuel replied, "You don't understand now what I am doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter protested, "you will never ever wash my feet." Emmanuel replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Simon Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and head as well, Master, not just my feet." Emmanuel replied, "A person who has bathed all over does not need to wash, except for the feet, to be entirely clean, and you disciples are clean, but not all of you." For Emmanuel knew who would betray him. That is what he meant when he said, "Not all of you are clean." After washing their feet, he put on his robe again and sat down and asked, "Do you understand what I was doing? You call me teacher and master, and you are right, because that's what I am. And since I, your master and teacher, have washed your feet, you ought to wash each other's feet. I have given you an example to follow. Do as I have done to you. I tell you the truth, slaves are not greater than their master, nor is the messenger more important than the one who sends the message. Now that you know these things, Elohim will bless you for doing them." John 12 verse 26. "Anyone who wants to serve me must follow me, because my servants must be where I am, and the Father will honor anyone who serves me." The cost of following Elohim. Luke 14 verse 25 to 30. A large crowd was following Emmanuel. He turned around and said to them, "If you want to be my disciple, you must, by comparison, hate everyone else. Your father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even your own life. Otherwise, you cannot be my disciple. And if you do not carry your own cross and follow me, you cannot be my disciple. But don't begin until you count the cost. For who would begin construction of a building without first calculating the cost to see if there is enough money to finish it? Otherwise, you might complete only the foundation before running out of money, and then everyone would laugh at you. They would say, 'There's the person who started that building and couldn't afford to finish it.'" My understanding of this teaching. This is the first and greatest commandment: to love Elohim with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. You must hold Elohim in the highest esteem above everyone else around you, and must desire to please him, and to do his will more than you desire to please others and to do your own will. When you follow this route, you will lose many things, but you must carry that cross faithfully, enduring the hardships, trials, and persecutions that may come while still holding strong in your faith in Elohim. You cannot turn back once you embark on this journey, so it is not for the weak. It is better to consider all these things before starting. The money in this case is your faith, which is expressed by your love and trust for him and deems you righteous before him. Faith is what unlocks the promises of heaven. If you believe in Elohim and in all the promises of heaven given to you, then by faith you will succeed. Luke 12 verse 49 to 53. "I have come to set the world on fire, and I wish it were already burning. I have a terrible baptism of suffering ahead of me, and I am under a heavy burden until it is accomplished. Do you think I have come to bring peace to the earth? No, I have come to divide people against each other. From now on, families will be split apart, 3 in favor of me, and 2 against, or 2 in favor and 3 against. Father will be divided against son and son against father, mother against daughter and daughter against mother, and mother-in-law against daughter-in-law and daughter-in-law against mother-in-law. Matthew 10, verse 36 to 38. Your enemies will be right in your own household. If you love your father or mother more than you love me, you are not worthy of being mine. Or if you love your son or daughter more than me, you are not worthy of being mine. If you refuse to take up your cross and follow me, you are not worthy of being mine. John 10, verse 27. My sheep listen to my voice. I know them, and they follow me. Luke 14, verse 33. So you cannot become my disciple without giving up everything you own. My understanding of this teaching, members of your family may try to hold you back from following the Messiah fully. They may find ways to discourage you, tempt you, or hinder you, but you must remember, you will stand in judgment alone, and that you came into this world naked and alone, and you will leave the same way. Therefore, knowing this, you will be wiser if you followed your own convictions and beliefs than following what everyone else is telling you. Remember Job's wife. She enjoyed the rich blessings of the master with her husband, but when everything was taken away, then she wanted Job to sin by cursing Elohim so he could just die. She was the enemy here, trying to doom the life of her husband to hell, but Job was righteous and knew that it is the master who gives and also takes away, and he should be praised in all circumstances. You will lose the fleeting things of this world and gain the unshakable things of heaven. Luke 17, verse 32 to 33. Remember what happened to Lot's wife. If you cling to your life, you will lose it, and if you let your life go, you will save it. Genesis 19, verses 12 to 13. Meanwhile, the angels questioned Lot. Do you have any other relatives here in the city? They asked. Get them out of this place, your sons-in-law, sons, daughters, or anyone else, for we are about to destroy this city completely. The outcry against this place is so great it has reached the master, and he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot rushed out to tell his daughter's fiancés, Quick, get out of the city! The master is about to destroy it. But the young men thought he was only joking. At dawn the next morning, the angels became insistent. Hurry, they said to Lot. Take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here. Get out right now, or you will be swept away in the destruction of the city. When Lot still hesitated, the angels seized his hand and the hands of his wife and 2 daughters and rushed them to safety outside the city, for the master was merciful. When they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, Run for your lives, and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Genesis 19, verse 26. But Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Luke 18, verse 28 to 30, Peter said, We've left our homes to follow you. Yes, Emmanuel replied, and I assure you that everyone who has given up house or wife or brothers or parents or children for the sake of the kingdom of Elohim will be repaid many times over in this life and will have eternal life in the world to come. Matthew 8, verse 21 to 22. Another of his disciples said, Master, first let me return home and bury my father. But Emmanuel told him, Follow me now. Let the spiritually dead bury their own dead. Servants focus on the mission and detach from the world. 2 Corinthians 6, verse 17 to 18. Therefore come out from among unbelievers, and separate yourselves from them, says the Master. Don't touch their filthy things, and I will welcome you. And I will be your father, and you will be my sons and daughters, says the Master Almighty. Leviticus 20, verse 23. Do not live according to the customs of the people I am driving out before you. It is because they do these shameful things that I detest them. Matthew 7, verse 13 to 14. You can enter Elohim's kingdom only through the narrow gate. The highway to hell is broad, and its gate is wide for the many who choose that way. But the gateway to life is very narrow, and the road is difficult, and only a few ever find it. Proverbs 14, verse 12. There is a path before each person that seems right, but it ends in death. Jeremiah 6, verse 16. Thus said Yahweh, Stand in the ways and see and ask for the old paths where the good way is, and walk in it, and find rest for yourselves. but they said, "We do not walk in it." John 15, verse 18 to 19. If the world hates you, remember that it hated me first. The world would love you as one of its own if you belonged to it, but you are no longer part of the world. I chose you to come out of the world, so it hates you. Isaiah 35, verse 8 to 10. And there shall be a highway and a way, and it shall be called the way of set apartness. The unclean does not pass over it, but it is for those who walk the way, and no fools wander on it. No lion is there, nor any ravenous beast go up on it. It is not found there, but the redeemed shall walk there. And the ransomed of Yahweh shall return and enter Sion with singing, with everlasting joy on their heads. They shall obtain joy and gladness, and sorrow and sighing shall flee away. Proverbs 6, verse 17. The path of the virtuous leads away from evil. Whoever follows that path is safe. 2 Timothy 2, verse 3 to 6. Endure suffering along with me as a good soldier of the Messiah Emmanuel. Soldiers don't get tied up in the affairs of civilian life, for then they cannot please the officer who enlisted them. And athletes cannot win the prize unless they follow the rules. And hard-working farmers should be the first to enjoy the fruit of their labor. 2 Peter 1, verse 4. And because of his glory and excellence, he has given us great and precious promises. These are the promises that enable you to share his divine nature and escape the world's corruption caused by human desires. Galatians 6, verse 14. As for me, may I never boast about anything except the cross of our Master Emmanuel, the Messiah. Because of that cross, my interest in this world has been crucified, and the world's interest in me has also died. Acts 20, verse 24. But my life is worth nothing to me unless I use it for finishing the work assigned me by the Master Emmanuel, the work of telling others the good news about the wonderful grace of Elohim. Galatians 1, verse 10. Obviously, I'm not trying to win the approval of people, but of Elohim. If pleasing people were my goal, I would not be the Messiah's servant. 1 Peter 2, verse 15 to 16. It is Elohim's will that your honorable lives should silence those ignorant people who make foolish accusations against you. For you are free, yet you are Elohim's slaves, so don't use your freedom as an excuse to do evil. Ephesians 6, verse 7. Work with enthusiasm, as though you were working for the master rather than for people. Servants are faithful and sensible. Luke 12, verse 42 to 46. And the master replied, "A faithful, sensible servant is one to whom the master can give the responsibility of managing his other household servants and feeding them. If the master returns and finds that the servant has done a good job, there will be a reward. I tell you the truth, the master will put that servant in charge of all he owns. But what if the servant thinks, 'My master won't be back for a while,' and he begins beating the other servants, partying, and getting drunk? The master will return unannounced and unexpected, and he will cut the servant in pieces and banish him with the unfaithful." John 8, verse 31. Emmanuel said to the people who believed in him, "You are truly my disciples if you remain faithful to my teachings." 2 Corinthians 4, verse 5. You see, we don't go around preaching about ourselves. We preach that Emmanuel, the Messiah, is Master, and we ourselves are your servants for Emmanuel's sake. 1 Timothy 1, verse 12. I thank the Messiah, Emmanuel, our Master, who has given me strength to do his work. He considered me trustworthy and appointed me to serve him. James 1, verse 12. Elohim blesses those who patiently endure testing and temptation. Afterward, they will receive the crown of life that Elohim has promised to those who love him. Hebrews 10, verse 39. But we are not like those who turn away from Elohim to their own destruction. We are the faithful ones, whose souls will be saved. Revelations 2, verse 10. Don't be afraid of what you are about to suffer. The devil will throw some of you into prison to test you. You will suffer for 10 days. But if you remain faithful even when facing death, I will give you the crown of life. Servants of Elohim are not attached to worldly things, but manage it well. Luke 16, verse 10 to 13. If you are faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? And if you are not faithful with other people's things, why should you be trusted with things of your own? No one can serve two masters, for you will hate one and love the other. You will be devoted to one and despise the other. You cannot serve Elohim and be enslaved to money. 2 Peter 1 verse 3. By his divine power, Elohim has given us everything we need for living a righteous life. We have received all of this by coming to know him, the one who called us to himself by means of his marvelous glory and excellence. Matthew 25 verse 14 to 30. Again, the kingdom of heaven can be illustrated by the story of a man going on a long trip. He called together his servants and entrusted his money to them while he was gone. He gave 5 bags of silver to one, 2 bags of silver to another, and 1 bag of silver to the last, dividing it in proportion to their abilities. He then left on his trip. The servant who received the 5 bags of silver began to invest the money and earned 5 more. The servant with 2 bags of silver also went to work and earned 2 more. But the servant who received the 1 bag of silver dug a hole in the ground and hid the master's money. After a long time, their master returned from his trip and called them to give an account of how they had used his money. The servant to whom he had entrusted the 5 bags of silver came forward with 5 more and said, "Master, you gave me 5 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 5 more." The master was full of praise. "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." The servant who had received the 2 bags of silver came forward and said, "Master, you gave me 2 bags of silver to invest, and I have earned 2 more." The master said, "Well done, my good and faithful servant. You have been faithful in handling this small amount, so now I will give you many more responsibilities. Let's celebrate together." Then the servant with the 1 bag of silver came and said, "Master, I knew you were a harsh man, harvesting crops you didn't plant and gathering crops you didn't cultivate. I was afraid I would lose your money, so I hid it in the earth. Look, here is your money back." But the master replied, "You wicked and lazy servant. If you knew I harvested crops I didn't plant and gathered crops I didn't cultivate, why didn't you deposit my money in the bank? At least I could have gotten some interest on it." Then he ordered, "Take the money from this servant and give it to the one with the 10 bags of silver. To those who use well what they are given, even more will be given, and they will have an abundance. But from those who do nothing, even what little they have will be taken away. Now throw this useless servant into outer darkness, where there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth." 1 Peter 4 verse 10, Elohim has given each of you a gift from his great variety of spiritual gifts. Use them well to serve one another. Colossians 3 verse 23 to 24, work willingly at whatever you do, as though you were working for the master rather than for people. Remember that the master will give you an inheritance as your reward, and that the master you are serving is the Messiah. Servants grow and walk by faith and not by sight. 1 Peter 1 verse 8, you love him even though you have never seen him. Though you do not see him now, you trust him, and you rejoice with a glorious, inexpressible joy. John 20 verse 27-29. Then he said to Toma, bring your finger here and see my hands, and bring your hand and put it into my side, and do not be unbelieving, but believing. And Toma answered and said to him, my master and my Elohim. The master said to him, Toma, because you have seen me, you have believed. Blessed are those who have not seen and have believed. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. For we live by believing and not by seeing. 2 Peter 1 verse 5-9. In view of all this, make every effort to respond to Elohim's promises. Supplement your faith with a generous provision of moral excellence, and moral excellence with knowledge, and knowledge with self-control, and self-control with patient endurance, and patient endurance with righteousness, and righteousness with brotherly affection, and brotherly affection with love for everyone. The more you grow like this, the more productive and useful you will be in your knowledge of our Master Emmanuel, the Messiah. But those who fail to develop in this way are short-sighted or blind, forgetting that they have been cleansed from their old sins. 1 Peter 1 verse 5. And through your faith, Elohim is protecting you by his power until you receive this salvation, which is ready to be revealed on the last day for all to see. Exodus 13 verse 21. And Yahweh went before them by day in a column of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a column of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. John 12 verse 36. Put your trust in the light while there is still time. Then you will become children of the light. After saying these things, Emmanuel went away and was hidden from them. Jeremiah 1 verse 19. And they shall fight against you, but not prevail against you. For I am with you, declares Yahweh, to deliver you. Servants are humble and respect the authority of their master. Deuteronomy 10 verse 12. And now, Yisrael, what is Yahweh your Elohim asking of you, but to fear Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in all his ways and to love him, and to serve Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart and with all your being. Deuteronomy 13 verse 4. Walk after Yahweh your Elohim and fear him, and guard his commands and obey his voice, and serve him and cling to him. 1 Samuel 12 verse 24. Only fear Yahweh, and you shall serve him in truth with all your heart, for consider what marvels he has done for you. Psalms 2 verse 11. Serve Yahweh with fear and rejoice with trembling. Luke 17 verse 7 to 10. When a servant comes in from plowing or taking care of sheep, does his master say, "Come in and eat with me"? No, he says, "Prepare my meal, put on your apron, and serve me while I eat. Then you can eat later." And does the master thank the servant for doing what he was told to do? Of course not. In the same way, when you obey me, you should say, "We are unworthy servants who have simply done our duty." Job 7 verse 1 to 2. Is not all human life a struggle? Our lives are like that of a hired hand, like a worker who longs for the shade, like a servant waiting to be paid. Job 9 verse 10 to 15. He does great things too marvelous to understand. He performs countless miracles. Yet when he comes near, I cannot see him. When he moves by, I do not see him go. If he snatches someone in death, who can stop him? Who dares to ask, "What are you doing?" And Elohim does not restrain his anger. Even the monsters of the sea are crushed beneath his feet. So who am I, that I should try to answer Elohim or even reason with him? Even if I were right, I would have no defense. I could only plead for mercy. Matthew 8 verse 6 to 10. Master, my young servant lies in bed, paralyzed and in terrible pain. Elohim the master said, I will come and heal him. But the officer said, Master, I am not worthy to have you come into my home. Just say the word from where you are, and my servant will be healed. I know this because I am under the authority of my superior officers, and I have authority over my soldiers. I only need to say, Go, and they go, or Come, and they come. And if I say to my slaves, Do this, they do it. When Emmanuel heard this, he was amazed. Turning to those who were following him, he said, I tell you the truth, I haven't seen faith like this in all Israel. Servants are humble with everyone and make disciples. Matthew 23 verse 12. But those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. Romans 12 verse 16. Live in harmony with each other. Don't be too proud to enjoy the company of ordinary people, and don't think you know it all. 1 Corinthians 9 verse 19. Even though I am a free man with no master, I have become a slave to all people to bring many to the Messiah. 1 John 3 verse 16. We know what real love is because Emmanuel gave up his life for us. So we also ought to give up our lives for our brothers and sisters. 2 Timothy 2 verse 24-25. A servant of the master must not quarrel but must be kind to everyone, be able to teach, and be patient with difficult people. Gently instruct those who oppose the truth. Perhaps Elohim will change those people's hearts, and they will learn the truth. 1 Peter 5 verse 2. Care for the flock that Elohim has entrusted to you. Watch over it willingly, not grudgingly, not for what you will get out of it, but because you are eager to serve Elohim. Philippians 1 verse 29. For you have been given not only the privilege of trusting in the Messiah, but also the privilege of suffering for him. Matthew 28 verse 19-20. Therefore, go and make disciples of all the nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Matthew 4 verse 19-20. Emmanuel called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and followed him. Servants walk in love. John 13 verse 35. Your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Galatians 5 verse 13. For you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters. But don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. 1 Peter 2 verse 9. But you are not like that, for you are a chosen people. You are royal priests, a holy nation, Elohim's very own possession. As a result, you can show others the goodness of Elohim, for he called you out of the darkness into his wonderful light. Luke 6 verse 35. Love your enemies, do good to them. Lend to them without expecting to be repaid. Then your reward from heaven will be very great, and you will truly be acting as children of the Most High, for he is kind to those who are unthankful and wicked. 1 John 4 verse 19. We love each other because he loved us first. Romans 15 verse 7. Therefore accept each other just as the Messiah has accepted you, so that Elohim will be given glory. Servants seek the esteem and glory of the master and not their own. John 13 verse 16. Truly, truly, I say to you, a servant is not greater than his master, nor is an emissary greater than he who sent him. Matthew 10 verses 24. A taught one is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. Ephesians 1 verses 3-14. Blessed be the Elohim and Father of our Master Emmanuel Messiah, who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing in the heavenlies in Messiah, even as he chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be set apart and blameless before him, in love, having previously ordained us to adoption as sons through Emmanuel Messiah to himself, according to the good pleasure of his desire, to the praise of the esteem of his favor with which he favored us in the Beloved, in whom we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of trespasses, according to the riches of his favor, which he has lavished on us in all wisdom and insight, having made known to us the secret of his desire, according to his good pleasure which he purposed in him, to administer at the completion of time, to gather together in one all in Messiah, both which are in the heavens and which are on earth, in him, in whom also we did obtain an inheritance, being previously ordained according to the purpose of him, working all matters according to the counsel of his desire, for us to be the praise of his esteem, those having first trusted in Messiah, in whom you also, having heard the word of the truth, the good news of your deliverance, in whom also, having believed, you were sealed with the set-apart Spirit of promise, who is the pledge of our inheritance, until the redemption of the purchased possession, to the praise of his esteem. Hebrews 12 verse 28. Therefore, receiving an unshakable reign, let us hold the favor through which we serve Elohim pleasingly with reverence and awe. Hebrews 3 verse 4. For every house is built by someone, but he who built all is Elohim. Jeremiah 9 verse 23. Thus said Yahweh, let not the wise boast in his wisdom, let not the mighty boast in his might, nor let the rich boast in his riches. Romans 11 verse 18. Do not boast against the branches, and if you boast, remember, you do not bear the root, but the root bears you. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 17. But he who boasts, let him boast in Yahweh. Romans 2 verse 7. Everlasting life to those who by persistence in good work seek for esteem and respect and incorruptibility. Servants produce much fruit. John 15 verse 1-2. I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. John 15 verse 4-5. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me, and I in them, will produce much fruit. For apart from me you can do nothing. John 15 verse 8. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. Galatians 5 verse 22-23. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. James 3 verse 17. But the wisdom from above is first of all pure. It is also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and willing to yield to others. It is full of mercy and the fruit of good deeds. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere. John 15 verse 16-17. You didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for, using my name. This is my command, love each other. Psalms 1 verse 1-3. Blessed is the man who shall not walk in the counsel of the wrong, and shall not stand in the path of sinners, and shall not sit in the seat of scoffers, but his delight is in the Torah of Yahweh, and he meditates in his Torah day and night. For he shall be as a tree planted by the rivers of water that yields its fruit in its season, and whose leaf does not wither, and whatever he does prospers. Servants know that they are already victorious. John 1 verse 5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. Romans 8 verse 38-39, and I am convinced that nothing can ever separate us from Elohim's love. Neither death nor life, neither angels nor demons, neither our fears for today nor our worries about tomorrow, not even the powers of hell can separate us from Elohim's love. No power in the sky above or in the earth below. Indeed, nothing in all creation will ever be able to separate us from the love of Elohim that is revealed in the Messiah Emmanuel, our Master. 1 John 2 verse 20-21. But you are not like that, for the Holy One has given you his Spirit, and all of you know the truth. 21. So I am writing to you not because you don't know the truth, but because you know the difference between truth and lies. Luke 10 verse 19. Look, I have given you authority over all the power of the enemy, and you can walk among snakes and scorpions and crush them. Nothing will injure you. Matthew 28 verse 20. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I have given you, and be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age. Mark 13 verse 11. But when you are arrested and stand trial, don't worry in advance about what to say. Just say what Elohim tells you at that time, for it is not you who will be speaking, but the Holy Spirit. John 17 verse 9-11. My prayer is not for the world, but for those you have given me, because they belong to you. All who are mine belong to you, and you have given them to me, so they bring me glory. Now I am departing from the world. They are staying in this world, but I am coming to you. Holy Father, you have given me your name. Now protect them by the power of your name, so that they will be united just as we are. John 17 verse 22, I have given them the glory you gave me, so they may be one as we are one. 1 Corinthians 15 verse 57. But thank Elohim, he gives us victory over sin and death through our Master Emmanuel, the Messiah. Romans 8 verse 35-37. Can anything ever separate us from the Messiah's love? Does it mean he no longer loves us if we have trouble or calamity, or are persecuted or hungry or destitute or in danger or threatened with death? As the scriptures say, for your sake we are killed every day, we are being slaughtered like sheep. No, despite all these things, overwhelming victory is ours through the Messiah, who loved us. 1 John 5 verse 4. For every child of Elohim defeats this evil world, and we achieve this victory through our faith. 1 John 4 verse 4. But you belong to Elohim, my dear children. You have already won a victory over those people, because the Spirit who lives in you is greater than the spirit who lives in the world. Isaiah 41 verse 10. Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not look around, for I am your Elohim. I shall fortify you. I shall also help you. I shall also uphold you with the right hand of my righteousness. John 10 verse 10. The thief's purpose is to steal and kill and destroy. My purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. John 16 verse 33, I have told you all this, so that you may have peace in me. Here on earth you will have many trials and sorrows, but take heart, because I have overcome the world. 1 Peter 5 verse 10. In his kindness Elohim called you to share in his eternal glory by means of the Messiah Emmanuel. So after you have suffered a little while, he will restore, support, and strengthen you, and he will place you on a firm foundation. Psalms 18 verse 35. You have given me your shield of victory. Your right hand supports me. Your help has made me great. Servants are always ready for the master's return. Luke 12, verse 35-38. Be dressed for service and keep your lamps burning, as though you were waiting for your master to return from the wedding feast. Then you will be ready to open the door and let him in the moment he arrives and knocks. The servants who are ready and waiting for his return will be rewarded. I tell you the truth. He himself will seat them, put on an apron, and serve them as they sit and eat. He may come in the middle of the night or just before dawn, but whenever he comes, he will reward the servants who are ready. Matthew 25, verse 1-13. Then the kingdom of heaven will be like 10 bridesmaids who took their lamps and went to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were foolish, and 5 were wise. The 5 who were foolish didn't take enough olive oil for their lamps, but the other 5 were wise enough to take along extra oil. When the bridegroom was delayed, they all became drowsy and fell asleep. At midnight they were roused by the shout, "Look, the bridegroom is coming! Come out and meet him!" All the bridesmaids got up and prepared their lamps. Then the 5 foolish ones asked the others, "Please give us some of your oil because our lamps are going out." But the others replied, "We don't have enough for all of us. Go to a shop and buy some for yourselves." But while they were gone to buy oil, the bridegroom came. Then those who were ready went in with him to the marriage feast, and the door was locked. Later, when the other 5 bridesmaids returned, they stood outside calling, "Master, Master, open the door for us." But he called back, "Believe me, I don't know you. So you too must keep watch, for you do not know the day or hour of my return." Matthew 24, verse 13. But he who shall have endured to the end shall be saved. 1 Corinthians 1, verse 8-9, who shall also confirm you to the end, unreprovable in the day of our Master Emmanuel the Messiah. Elohim is trustworthy, by whom you were called into the fellowship of his Son, Emmanuel the Messiah our Master. Matthew 28, verse 19-20. Therefore go and make taught ones of all the nations, immersing them in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the set-apart Spirit, teaching them to guard all that I have commanded you. And see, I am with you always, until the end of the age. Ephesians 4, verses 1-6. I call upon you, therefore, I, the prisoner of the Master, to walk worthily of the calling with which you were called, with all humility and meekness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, being eager to guard the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. One body and one Spirit. As you also were called in one expectation of your calling, one Master, one belief, one immersion, one Elohim and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all.